Hey guys, this is John Schultz. Today I want to go over on how to build shocks for your scalar rock racer properly. Today I'm going to be building the AX31172 shocks from Axial Racing. It's their Icon Big Bore aluminum shocks, and they're really nice shocks. But I see a lot of videos out there and a lot of how-tos, and it just scares me on what they do to these poor shocks. So I just want to kind of do a real quick, how-to on how to build shocks properly. And this is how I'll do it. I'll make sure I have the proper tools. I'll have a good set of shock shaft pliers, some green slime, some side cutters, and some good shock oil. Because a lot of these plastic pieces will come on a tree, so you use your side cutters to cut off what parts you do need. And make sure they're as clean as possible. So and you want to work in a really clean environment too, so you don't have a lot of dust and dirt inside your shock. The reason why I use a racing style oil is that way I can always change my dampening later, and you can go buy that at your local hobby shop, which the oil that comes in the kit, it's usually a little bit different. So I don't usually use that oil. I usually use a little bit better grade. Oil, so that way I can always change my dampening thinner or thicker as I go to different events too. So let's get started. First thing I'll do is I'll take the bladder and I'll put it up inside the shock cap here. I'll take the shock body and just go ahead and screw the bladder up in there so it sits properly. Then I'll take the shock body and your spring adjuster and put that on there. Sometimes these are a little tough, so I'll put like a little drop, just a drop on this, just to help lubricate the body, the shock collar, to go up and down a little easier. They're still pretty tight with a little bit of oil, so you don't have to worry about them coming in unadjusted. But if you're on the trail and you do want to adjust it really quick, if they're tight and you can't move it, sometimes you'll unscrew your shock top, and that's just a mess all by itself. So that's why I make sure that this is snug but still adjustable. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and take the shock shaft with my shock aluminum pliers here, and I'll hold it at the bottom, because you don't want to scratch this or dent this or damage this at all, because that will cause leaks through your O-rings. So I'll put the washer on it, then your piston, and then another washer, and then another piston. Now this kit, shock kit, comes with machined pistons, and I always use the machined pistons. They just seem to be a lot smoother, a lot freer inside the shock body. So you can use the pistons that come on the trees, but even if you have a good set of side cutters and you cut them as close as you can, you still have a little bit of a plastic piece sticking off the side. So you can either take an X-Acto knife or some sandpaper and smooth it out, and that way if you do want to use the tree ones, you can go ahead and just gotta make sure they're smooth. So once I have that all together, then I'll take my cartridge, I'll put the O-ring around this, just like that. So you have your O-ring on here, then you have your bottom O-ring, you'll have a plastic spacer, and then you'll have another O-ring, and then you'll have your little cap here that snaps on, just like that. Now once I do that, I will take my green slime and I'll make sure I got plenty of green slime in there, so when I do put the shaft through, sometimes I'll even take and put some green slime on the threads, just a little bit. You don't need much, just to help the shaft slide into the O-rings without damaging the O-rings. And that's a lot of the cause of shocks leaking is a bad O-ring. So as you notice, when I put it on, I spun it just to kind of slide it in there real nice and easy. And now it's super smooth. So I'll go ahead and put that up into the shock body here. Just like so. Snug it down. You have a little rubber bumper here, so I'll put that on. Again, I'll take my aluminum shock pliers. Put my eyelid on here, tighten that up. Now I'll go down until I feel it kind of get a little bit snug, and then I'll stop. Just want to go on a little bit more. Like that. And then when I'm done, I'll actually take a pair of calipers and I'll pull this out and I'll pull the other one out and I'll measure both of them to make sure I have the same stroke on both shocks. So that way I don't have a gangster lean on my rig when I'm going down the trail. I'll take and put the eyelet in here. Pop that on. All right, now this is the crucial part here. I'm going to fill it about quarter to halfway of oil, and I'll just cycle it. Just slowly cycle it. Get all the air bubbles and pockets out of it. And you can see, if you look in there, you can still see some bubbles in there. So some guys will take a tool and just kind of, they can tap on the side, just kind of get the bubbles to come to the top. I know there's a couple of machines out there that, they're little vacuum shock machines that'll suck the air out of the fluid. And then once I get that to where I want, I'll put a little bit more oil in it, and then I'll push it up all the way to where it bottoms out, just like that. And you can see the shock oil is right there at the top. So now I have my shock diaphragm in there. I'll go ahead and just screw that on there, just like that. So as I was screwing it on, it was bleeding a little bit of oil out the top, which is fine. You just got to clean that up when you're done. And now it's sealed. Make sure everything's nice and snug. The biggest thing with this is a lot of guys will put shock oil in them, put the top on them, put them on their truck and go run them. The problem with that is the shock will go right about here and stop. What it's doing is hydraulicking. So when it gets here about stops, you hit something really hard, it'll push the oil out the O-ring, blow the O-ring, or even damage the top. I've seen it blow tops off, the plastic tops off the top of the shock. So you want to make sure that you have it bottoms out all the way and you have all the excess oil out of the shock. See, mine bottoms out really nice and it rebounds just a little bit, and that's the diaphragm in there working. So that's how to properly make sure your shocks are working at its fullest. So, and then when you go ahead and put your spring on there, spring collar, and then I'd pull that out all the way, and then I'll adjust the shock collar so the spring touches the perch, the bottom spring perch, just barely, just like that. Okay. And that's how to properly build shocks. Pretty simple. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Facebook at John Schultz, or my new Facebook page is Schultz RC Lab. So anyways, guys, happy scaling. Talk to you later.